Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another wonderful episode of Help for the Guildless. My name is Antoine, and the only thing I want you to do at this very moment is sit back and relax and let my delectable voice grace your ear holes, because I am going to introduce you to the most cringiest of cringe. And that, of course, comes from none other than the Mary Sue. Now, I have braved the onslaught of ads and pop-ups from the Mary Sue to bring you this article. It's the best thing I can call it. I wouldn't particularly say it's a good article. Misinformed, yes. But it is what it is. It's from the Mary Sue. So here's what it's titled. Finally fed up. Why are Final Fantasy 15 fans so anti-woman? Oh yes, we are delving into the deep muck and mire now. Now, I'm not going to read verbatim. I'm just going to read a little bit and give you my opinion on certain things. And because, one, it's a rather lengthy article. And Brandon Ortega is very much into himself. So let's go ahead and start. He starts with Final Fantasy, the ironically long-running series, is going to come out with its 15th main installment September 30th. On September 30th, Final Fantasy 15. It's a game I've affectionately titled J-Rock Road Trip. I mean, look at the main cast, and there's a picture of what, I could honestly say is 5 relatively attractive young men with distinguishing hairstyles and lack of class. They are dressed in their normal youngster garb, as if teenagers were going out. So you have someone who has an open shirt and shirtless underneath, and then you have hopefully I'll have the picture up for you so you can see. They're not bad. They're Final Fantasy characters. They're Japanese role-playing game characters. Of course they look like this. If they didn't look like this, they'd be Western RPG characters, and then he'd be complaining about how they look with that, where it's, they look like they're going to a Ren fair or something. This game's a little different than the rest in the series. It's been in development for an entire decade, dubbed a Final Fantasy based on reality. There hasn't been a lot revealed about it. The basic premise, the protagonist, Prince Noctis, going on a road trip with his male friends before his wedding while his home country is invaded. Several environments based heavily on real-life locations, the battle system, and in the fact that the only characters to fight in your party will be men. Noctis Lucius Calum, Prompto Argentum, Gladolius, these are almost as bad as Swedish names. Ignis Sentia. The developers have stated outright that while some people may drop in and out of combat as guests, and you can only control Noctis himself, only men are going to be in the party because of the road trip, because women in the group would change their behavior. Yes, women in the group would change their behavior, because most men, and this is most, curb their behavior when they're around women. So, in the same grain, would Bridesmaids be a completely different movie if one of the bridesmaids happened to be a man? And I'm not talking an effeminate gay man, I mean a real man. The movie couldn't be Bridesmaids then. So there's a bit of a double standard there. It's okay for something like that, to where it's an all-female cast and men don't change it, but there becomes a competitive nature of garnering the female's attention. She also becomes the main person to protect, and it's just in the nature of men. So they're trying to base this somewhat in reality, and in doing that, they're taking the psychology of it as well. The Mary Sue and Brandon, on the other hand, don't understand this. Now, let's talk about Final Fantasy recently. Now, Final Fantasy XIV is a MMO, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. You can be male or female, and it's a group-oriented series. Everybody's played an MMO or knows of it. Just think of World of Warcraft, but in the world of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy XIII, on the other hand, which had 2 sequels, by the way, the title role was given to a female, Lightning. With the last one, Lightning's Return, starring her and her sister. Did they complain? Was there something about it being said? No, of course not. Because that wouldn't be newsworthy. I say that, again, with a grain of salt, because this is not more... This is less of an article and more of him trying to garner feminist brownie points by saying, "Ooh, look, an all-male cast is not something we need." On top of that, we can jump back to Final Fantasy. We can't go 12, because 12 had a dual role of a male and a female character being the main leads, and 11, again, was an MMO. But you go back to Final Fantasy X, and we have one of the main characters, Yuna. Now, I don't know if the Mary Sue understands this, but the Final Fantasy X sequel starred only women. And it was Final Fantasy's premiere because it was the very first real sequel to a Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy, of course, has multiple games in the series, but none of them are direct sequels. It's a brand new story. Final Fantasy X2 was a direct sequel to Final Fantasy X. And he does point that out. Now, I'm going to read the next part, and we'll go from there. Now, it would be great to get more portrayals of sensitive male friendships instead of the toxic masculinity that passes as it in much of our global media. I love that phrase, toxic masculinity. They don't understand what the term actually means. Now, you can have masculine females, and you can have masculine males. The toxic part is the real kicker. It's supposed to show you that only masculinity can be bad. This series has historically had mixed gender casts. While often the ladies fall into maid roles, we've at least had them. Now, one sequel, Final Fantasy X2, see, he does know, the series first, had a playable cast of only women. Much of the pushback I get when I ask for more women in X15 from Final Fantasy 15 comes because of that game. We've had an all-female cast, why not an all-male? Well, because that's not fair. You can't have an all-male cast, there has to be women in it. But with Final Fantasy X2, that was perfectly alright. An all-female cast, all of them playable? Sure, that's not a problem, we don't need men there. You got pushback? Really? Really? You're an idiot. And then this quip from Brandon. Ah yes, such a progressive game. Because the Mary Sue knows anything about progression. I'm writing for the Mary Sue. I don't think I need to cover why that's an issue. It is a progressive game. It is dealing with the sensitive nature of men bonding, friendships being made. You see, you at the Mary Sue believe that men bond through violence, and that they cannot be sensitive with each other or develop friendships to the point of love. We are nothing but barbaric instruments of death and torture and rape. The problem with that is you don't understand that. That's why there was the whole thing about Cap and Bucky recently. Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Bucky Barnes love each other. Not like that. They love each other like brothers. They are close as brothers. And it's the same with Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson. They love each other like brothers. They would stand up for each other, die for each other. They've bonded. They've bonded through trauma. They've bonded through happiness. They've bonded through fear. And they've bonded through triumph. And that's the same thing that's going to happen in this game. These men are going to bond. And it's going to show a progression of the sensitive nature of how a man reacts when other men are present. And if you do inject a woman into that, that changes. It no longer becomes bonding with the men. It becomes bonding with the woman. But, lest I forget, the Mary Sue just believes we are nothing but rape instruments. Now, he continues, but let me reiterate, I'm literally just asking for inclusion. That's all. I've been careful with my words, but even as a man with a clearly male screen name, the pushback I get is ridiculous. I can't imagine what it's like to be a woman who likes video games. No, the reason I decided to do this is because I was talking to Cole recently. He's been playing a ton of Overwatch with his friends. And as I've not played it, he was talking to me about the screen names. Now, he enjoys reading some of the most asinine names that are on there, and he makes fun of them constantly. That's fine. I'm sure other people do too. But it has never once dawned on him that the person on the other side of the controller, on the other side of the screen, is female. Even with a extremely feminine name. It never even occurred to him. Because the person, the way that he sees it, and the way that his companions see it, is the person that they choose is who they are. So, he is playing Diva. They will call him as Diva. Because they don't possibly know him, they don't know if he can hear them. So they'll say, Diva, do this, Diva, look for that. And if they have a conversation going, then they'll talk about names. But if the screen name is Jenny from the Block, and she's playing Reinhardt, the call-out is to Reinhardt, not Jenny. Oh look, there's Jenny, she's playing a masculine man in armor. It must be a penis fantasy. No. So I don't know where these people are getting their information about the gaming group. Apparently they just do nothing but hang out on 4chan, and that's where they get their information. Which is a problem. Because then you get things like this, where they talk about toxic masculinity and asking for inclusion. Did the Mary Sue ask for inclusion in X2? No, of course not. Why would they do that? Did they ask for inclusion in Lightning Returns? No, why not? Why? Why stop something with such a good thing going, being an all-female cast? Why inject men into it? It's nothing but toxic masculinity anyway. But when a game comes out, when it's going to be nothing but bonding between men, especially over the fact that it's basically, what it sounds like is it's a role-playing version of The Hangover. Something bad is going to happen, and this man's doing this as his bachelor party. It's a road trip that he gets to do with his friends that is not going to include his new wife. Which, if the Mary Sue's writers understood anything about needing your own space, not a safe space, your own space, they wouldn't be questioning this. Now, they've questioned man caves in the past, But they've never questioned the fact that women have their own space as well. And when a woman has her own space, it literally is her own space. And a man should not have his. He should be sharing everything with her. You need your own space. Being in a relationship does not change that one bit. Doing something all on your own is needed. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Now, when you do spend time together, spend time together. But you don't necessarily have to be together 100% of the time. If there is something that the woman likes to do that the man does not like to do, she goes and does that by herself with her friends, who, yes, can be friends with both people. If the man has something he likes to do and wants to do it by himself, he can go do it. That's where the man cave comes in. Now, I think what it really is with man cave is it's a dedicated space. You see, the home in of itself is seen as the entirety of the woman's space. A man is only allowed in. Where a man cave is dedicated, this is a man's space. And that's what these games are like. You see, Final Fantasy has always been inclusive to both genders, and races, and different species. Except for a few games. And those few games, of course, were starred by women. This is the first time that Final Fantasy has had an all-male playable or non-playable cast, but the main characters are all male. And now suddenly it's a problem. Fans of the series are now sexist. Give me a fucking break, you stupid people. You keep using that word to describe the most mundane things. It then loses its power. It then loses its true meaning and what it really means to be someone who is sexist or misogynistic. Having an all-male cast is no more sexist as having an all-female cast to tell a story. Let it go on its merits. You're asking for inclusion, Brandon, because you want to earn brownie points to be included in the feminist dogma that is the Mary Sue. So, he goes on to talk about how he did a Reddit Ask thing, and he was already being told that he can't ask questions about women and blah blah blah. Look, you're creating this, I don't know what to call it, this air of gendered politics and everything. You're creating this segregated mindset. It has to be women or it has to be men. Instead of being a group, it has to be white, it has to be black. Social justice issues that can be touched on by media aren't always necessarily needed to be touched on by the media. And in the same instance, some things in the media do not need to be gendered or racial issues. And that goes specifically for games. Games are not a gendered issue. They are being made a gendered issue. I don't know why. Maybe because going over this article, I find it tiring. There are things that have come up in the news through Facebook and things like that that I haven't wanted to discuss because it's just tiring. And this is one of those things. I could not imagine being Brandon, or even Anita Sarkeesian, or Zoe Quinn, or Randy Harper, and being 100% upset and offended by everything, and having to espouse that frustration on a daily basis. It makes me think that the cubicles at the Mary Sue are filled with just doom and gloom. Little dark clouds of anger and hatred and hovering over every single cubicle, raining down on top of the person. Because they can't seem to just enjoy something for what it is. Final Fantasy 15 is going to be a game about men being men, which we haven't had in a very long time. Because everything has had to be inclusive to everything. You have to have a male character and a female character. You have to have a black and a white character. You have to have an Asian character. You have to have a Jewish character. You have to have some type of ethnicity. You have to have a political issue with it. Well, the political issue is there. There's a war going on, while he's deciding to spend time with his friends, and I can guarantee one of them is going to die. And it's supposed to be impactful. And this pus-filled boil is going to look at the game, play 10 minutes of it, call it sexist because of the party time they're going to have at the opening cinematic, and set it down and never pick it up again. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's journalism like this opinionated hit piece journalism, that is the reason Gamergate is still around. Listen, Brandon, and the rest of you at the Mary Sue, stop doing shit like this, and Gamergate will go away. But when you continue to push an ideology because you don't like something, it is going to bring down on you backlash. Now, I would go to the comments of this article and hope to see some type of divisiveness. Someone saying, well, maybe because they've had female cast, now it's time for a male cast. But here's the very first comment from JL Sigmund. This is the first time I'm skipping a Final Fantasy game entirely. I'm really disappointed. It's really disappointing how the question about women have been answered, and as a 40-plus-year-old woman who finally has multiple options to play women, I'm just not interested in playing a man because I have no other choice. Well, that's kind of bigoted, to use your guys' own terms. You don't want to know what's going to happen? Well, that's your fucking loss. And then Joanna said in response to that, I mean, if I have to stare at a butt for 20 hours, it might as well be from a hot Final Fantasy dude, eh? Eh? It's This name, Moonstrife. Here we go. Aside from the fact that the name is bad, they have a good point. I can't say she, I can't say he, because Moonstrife has no gendered terminology to it. But I think that's unfair now. At least give them a chance. Final Fantasy X2 was all females, and it was quite fun. I think it doesn't matter if the player's gonna be females or males as much as everything else about the game, which is very true. Also, it already confirmed that we will have quite a lot of women in the game, and most are amazing. Gentania, Luna, Sydney, Gladios, Sis, and Ariana? If people won't play a game because you can't play with a female character, I believe you won't be able to play 80% of the games. And then she responded, then those are the games that won't get my money. Since I have a choice now, I would choose something else. She's right. This is a capitalist society. You speak with your wallet. Right? But that doesn't mean that when you speak with your wallet, that the rest of society agrees with you. So, this J.L. Sigmund will speak with her wallet as a 40-plus-year-old video gamer, and not play a game that only has a male protagonist, because she can't play a female. I guess she's not going to play No Man's Sky, she's not going to play the new God of War, she's not going to play any game that is story-driven and not open-world sandbox. So, that means she's not going to play GTA 5, she's not going to play The Witcher 3, she's not going to play Pac-Man. Alright, that last one was a little low blowish, but that's what she's saying. And she wants the rest of the people who are talking to her to agree with her. That if you can't play as a woman, you shouldn't be able to play at all. You, J.L. Sigmund, talk with your wallet. I, on the other hand, talk with mine. And I will be buying this game because it's been a while since I've played a Final Fantasy game. And it's going to be your loss. So, I don't know. I could list another 10 different video games. This is why I can't do the entire article. It's extremely long and is just full of nothing but vicious, opinionated claptrap. Even going so far as to bring up a Nita Sarkeesian and feminist frequency. Look. At the end of the day, all this is someone trying to tell a story. And if you don't want to be a part of that story, don't be. But don't, under any circumstances, call fans of that series or of that story something that they are not because of the fact that you don't like something about it. The fact that you don't like it doesn't mean a damn thing. And it doesn't mean that the fans are sexist, misogynistic, bigoted, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, or any of the other xenophobic things that are out there. All it means is that you didn't like something, and you are doing nothing to help anything in the complications that we are having from these issues. You're making it worse. And you're doing it for money, which is even worse than that. You are not a journalist. You are not a writer. You are not anything but a overpaid blogger. Because you are not investigating the matter. What you're doing is adding your own opinion to it and calling it fact. It's not fact. Not at all. It needs to stop. You're not helping anything. If you want, I'm going to put the link to the article in the description. And you can read it yourself if you want. And you can deal with the comment section and how echoish it is. But I'm done with this bullshit. I'm not done talking about the hypocrisy of these idiots, but I am done with this bullshit and giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because they have time and time again proven that the benefit of the doubt is nothing to them, but giving them an inch and them taking not a mile, but a continent's worth of rope. So, my name is Antoine. This has been Help for the Guildless. Thank you for listening. If you liked what I have to say, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share me with your friends. You can follow me on Facebook, on the group. The link is down below. You can follow Cole on Twitter and Twitch. He's been streaming a bunch. You can give him shit and things of that nature on Twitch if you want. Help this channel grow. If you didn't like what I had to say and you think I'm a complete and utter asshat, please go ahead, put it in the comments. But this is all I have time for, and this is all I'm going to talk about on this subject. I do have more to talk about later. So once again, thank you for listening, everyone. And I hope you have a pleasant day.